Welcome back to PhD Synergy, and we are going to talk about how everything works together and how a rising tide will raise all ships. And we've got a special guest today. She's got a background in nursing, but she's also got quite a story of struggle victory in pretty much every area that you can think of, physically, mentally, spiritually. It's a roller coaster, but there's a bright side to this. Always a silver lining, and her story um, is such a great story. I've had a chance to read about her and kind of follow her along through some forums and communities, and started to have a brief dialogue with her. And I can't wait to turn her loose on you guys. So let's welcome to the stage Nina Joy. Nina, how are you?
I'm great. So good to be here.
Yes, we are
Synergy,
thrilled.
synergy has been a word way back in, gosh, when I was breaking away from the medical establishment and when I'm going on my own with body work and things like that. My first business card was synergist. And
Mm,
when I saw you having on the community synergy and how that all plays into what you do and why you do it, I thought, this is so good.
yeah.
Somebody else
Well, yeah,
understands.
because and you've seen it probably from all angles too, medical, holistic, naturopathic, all of it, even psychiatric is everyone wants to focus on this thing and this thing and this thing and this, and then they get so far in the weeds down this one rabbit hole that they neglect this other stuff, or they don't give it the credit that it needs because they all work
Right.
in tandem with each other. So let's just
Yes.
tell us who you are, um, where you are, and then maybe give us a little, 2-3 minutes about your background, and because you have a very interesting background. I think that's going to help add some context to your story. So who are you?
All right. Well, I was born Nina Joy Dobbins. Okay. I've got three names. No, three last names. So now I just go by Nina Joy. But my background, um, broken home, really angry child. Fast forward at 16, I ran away from home, school, everything, and I joined the Navy. The Navy got me back into shape, and my parents split up when I was a kid. I was a very angry child and insecure, self esteem problems. I remember, but then the Navy kicked my rear end into gear. When I was 15, my mom got me a membership in at a health spa. It was Silhouette International
Mhm.
Health Spas. It was a gym. All the equipment I would want kept me out of trouble. But then fast forward at 19, I had already worked on a med surge ward for a couple of years, loving it, wanted to be a doctor, um, wanted to help people. And I was hit by a car, really bad accident, and broke my back in a couple of places in the lower spine, and my neck was really injured too. Many months in a body cast, a couple of months there, 6 months in limited duty, never getting out of pain, physical pain. Saw people come and go from the hospital. Um, and wondered why we get sick. Why in the heck do we get sick?
What a loaded
And then it
question.
just like, what? And then that spurred me on to many years of study of
And this
different
was,
things.
when did you become a medic? You were a medic in the Navy, is that right?
Yes, I took the battery test in the Navy at 17. And I
Okay.
scored high. The highest I scored was mechanics. I probably would have spent a lot of time not worrying about things if I just went into mechanics, you know. But then, but my heart was in. I think my calling originally was to help people. I love people. I love humanity. I guess from the
Yeah.
time I was born, mother said I was just a happy kid, you know. But then things happen, and then you think the world's ended, you know, with your
Mhm.
mom splitting up, taking off with four
So
kids and raising you, you know, it just,
so let me ask you this. So you got a membership to a gym to keep you out of trouble. Is that where you started to get kind of influenced by that crowd? Did you start to, hey, I kind of like the gym, or was that just kind of just a thing?
well, I was always a tomboy. You know, my daddy, I was one of four, and my dad was probably was hoping for a boy, you know, and I turned out to be kind of like a boy, a tomboy. I did everything the guys did, you know, the kids
Right.
did. And I was always trying to outdo them, you know, and stuff, and really please my daddy. So what does that sound like?
Mm.
You know,
Well,
you
I instantly went to
scheme.
Shirley Temple.
I
You know,
don't.
anything you can do, I can do better.
Yeah,
That old
right,
song.
right. So I was in trouble all the time. I, you know, got into trouble, drank, you know, before I was 16, and really grew up fast, I guess. Well, at 17, I took the battery test, aced it, got into the Navy, but I wanted to be a doctor, so I went into the hospital corps. I was a medic,
Okay.
LPN by the time I got out of school, and they trained me. You know, they trained you fast,
Uh,
and you get on the job training. Yeah. There wasn't any war going on during those years I was in, interestingly enough. I didn't have to be deployed like they are
right.
now, you know, and stuff like that. So I was lucky that way. But then I remember teaching doctors when I was 17. I was gung ho, just like I was always gung ho with my dad, you know, and sports, and
Mhm.
won a lot of awards for physical fitness and things like that. But then after my back was injuries, um,
Okay, so leading up to the accident, you were in pretty good physical shape. I
yeah,
mean, you were athletic, then you in the Navy, which they keep you, within a certain range. So you were
mm,
in good shape to begin with, and then the accident hit. Do you think that
right.
do you think that helped in the healing process, that you were somewhat, in
Oh,
good shape?
I did. I bounced back, but
Mhm,
not right where my back was. You know, the injuries were. So it's strong here, and my legs got stronger. I thought I was getting stronger, but then my story stops when my I got out of the Navy. My husband was killed in a car wreck. Another tragic, you know,
mhm,
thing. You know, Terry, who kind of I met when I was in a body cast of all things. He was a orthopedic tech. He sat by my side, you know, and helped me get better. But what I think about now about the Navy and the physical therapy that I should have gotten at that time or requested, I don't know why they never really said, get your legs strengthened, do your back core exercises, do all these things that I did in the gym. Well, I did them myself when I could,
yeah,
you
now let
know,
me
and
what time frame was this? Was
okay,
this
in years,
Yeah, I
I
mean,
was okay, so I was 20. I was 19.
no, I mean, it was just, like, early '80s, mid '80s?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it was 79. Okay, so 70, actually, I'm dating way back. Okay, so 76 I joined. By the time I was out of the Navy, I wasn't out, I was retired at, you know, 21. I was still
Mhm.
retired temporarily with the Navy, so I had all the benefits, but they didn't, I was dumb thinking that I could do it myself and get back because I was tired of doctors and people that don't know what they're talking about.
Hmm.
A lot of times, the surgeons, I never don't really want to go there because they're awesome. I wanted to be a
Right.
surgeon, but I couldn't after that, after that. So my whole life changed. And that's when it spurred me on to say, why do people get
Now, let me
sick?
ask you,
And when Terry,
again, I'm gonna I don't mean to
Mhm.
interrupt, but I'm
No
going to.
problem.
So that time
Okay.
frame, early mid '80s, it was a different
Mhm.
time in the growth of the world of medicine too, and physical therapy. So you didn't have that, didn't know to ask. Did you
Mhm.
consciously see there's a gap that needs to be filled here? No one's filling it, so
Mhm.
I need to do it, and maybe think of that, even if it's in the back of your head, as something to work on it throughout your career. Did you consciously notice a
Well,
gap?
I did. You know, uh, I did respect physicians. I worked another job. I finally, after the 5 years of reevaluations, and they finally discharged me after 8 years in the Navy
Mhm.
fully. I was finally discharged with a 20% disability and with the VA, a 40% disability. So I was able to get compensation, but I didn't ever get it. I said, forget you guys. I don't want any money. I'm better than most people in my situation. I'm younger. I don't need your money or the non support that you're giving me. You didn't offer me any physical therapy. You didn't offer any of that. So for up until 2010, I didn't take anything from the service. I did it all myself. I didn't go to doctors hardly ever,
Mm.
and so I was really anti-doctor for
So this goes
years.
right back
I
to the
mean,
question
years.
that you were asking yourself. Why do we get sick, and how do we get not sick? How did
Yeah.
that journey
And so that
start?
took me to preventative medicine. Preventative medicine was all the rage in 1982 after Terry died, and I moved to California. I found a yoga class. I don't know if you remember,
Mhm.
but I did that. That was another pivotal point of being able to be in control of the pain. And I do put a smile on. I always have. But doesn't God say act as if you're there? So that's kind of helped
Call those
me
things that are
act
not
as
as though
if
they are.
I'm already, yeah. And what you say you are, I'm disabled. No,
Oh,
forget that.
wait,
I'm not disabled. I am
don't get me
having some
going. Don't get me
pain.
going. Power of life and death is in the tongue. And we're doing a
Yeah,
book
so
study, on, from this. I could go psychological, I could go spiritual, but this is on the psychological side. It's what to say when you talk to yourself and your inner monologue, and
right. I saw
so
that.
vital.
Exactly.
And again, we're talking synergy, all the things that work together. So you're in pain, and you have to put it on and just kind of
Overcome it.
act as if, and then, but then also you get to control through yoga in this case, control your
Mhm.
body, your movement, some pain, but that also lifts your
Mhm.
spirit up of, okay, I'm not an invalid. I do have value. I do have some worth. I can keep going and face the next challenge. How did yoga specifically come about?
Okay, um, so we moved to California. My mom, my grandmother, my Great Dane dog, my kitty, all piled in to two trucks and two campers, and we pioneered from Texas, where Terry died. Over, I was in nursing school semester, and Terry passed on, and so my life changed. I couldn't. I was just nutty, at the time. I didn't know what to do, So we just said, forget it. We're just going to pioneer out to California. That was 79. So 79, 80, got a job, landed a great job, um, running a big testing department and for, really wonderful docs, cush job. Um, And then I started studying herbology. Okay, so out of the blue, herbs and body work, massage, uh, uh, even energy work. For some reason, everything. When I said okay, I'm open
Hmm.
to learning new things and how we don't get how to prevent people from getting sick. Most of the docs see people after they're sick. So how do we do that? Well, it starts with nutrition and all those things. And so even when Terry was alive, when I was 19, 20, I was studying the new publications about the science of nutrition and protein, getting enough protein but then when I went into yoga, yoga says that most of yogis are either they fast or they eat
Hmm.
veg. They're not really that much eating to me. So all the yogis I met over the 3 or 4 years I was studying very deeply and being a teacher, studying teacher training and all of that, after I learned that it was the bomb. I mean, yoga helps your back because you're always doing these core
Right.
strengthening standing exercises, laying, on the floor exercises and
Well, and the
so
breath
on.
work too.
So it's threefold. Breath, pranayama, totally focused breath work when you are doing your, pose. You're getting into the pose, doing at least 5 breaths in that pose is going to strengthen and lengthen. That's what it's all about. It's balance, strengthen, lengthening. So your joints are, all, you know,
Hmm.
tight and the feeling. So yoga really saved my life. When people Christians a lot of times they'll say yoga, it's not really something you need to do. Well, I don't do yoga like the Eastern
Hmm.
philosophy. It's more I am honoring my body, which is the temple of the Spirit of God, um, and then strengthening, lengthening, balancing, and then the breath work. Like you said, it's all encompassing in your lifestyle. A lifestyle of
Right.
that
Hmm.
helped me tremendously. And that went on for 10, 15 years, but I was a
Okay,
vegetarian.
so how did that
I ate a
start?
little bit,
Was that because of the yoga, or was that just
uh,
early 80s? It was all the rage.
all the rage. Meat was this, and you need to, it gives you it's going to do everything to harm you. So I went into veg. And actually, I think because I ate mostly raw veg
Hmm.
and I didn't get into the processed foods so much, that saved me.
Sure.
I think because the when you eat vegetables raw, you get the enzymes to then break those down. But the fiber was the problem. I ended up with bleeding hemorrhoids after, well, when I was 50, maybe, okay, I'm 66 this year. So about 4 years ago, that started happening.
Wow.
But I was a vegetarian, eating raw pretty much. So drastic, like Bella, the steak and
Uh-huh.
butter gal, she was a vegan. I wasn't a vegan. I did have sardines. I remember Dr. Frank, who wrote the book Anti-Aging
Hmm.
Diet. It was all about mitochondria, and that was in 1977. I think he wrote it. So way back then, there was information if you wanted to find it, but it was
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah. Because yeah.
And so yoga helped me in many ways. It saved my life. I met a bunch of people out in California that was really into body work. At the time it was either spiritual, hands of light stuff, really
Hmm.
out there kind of stuff. And I was into it all. I experienced it all. Um, I had some amazing healing experiences, laying on of hands, praying, laying on of hands, things like I don't say that to all people, because you start doing that, they'll be lining up at the door, and you don't want that. So
or calling you a kook.
that
You know,
much
I
miraculous stuff, that way mid
oh
80s.
yeah,
Okay, so fiber, 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 all that time. If I knew that fasting could have cured every single disease practically, or at least get the start of curing every disease, intermittent fasting, I would have been preaching that for 20 years. But
okay.
I made a mistake and preached the wrong stuff for 20, 25
Okay, so how
years.
did that come about? As far you say you started preaching it, were you actively a naturopathic or holistic practitioner? Were you a yogi? I mean, what kind of platform did you use to get what you believe
Okay.
was the correct information? What you believe was going to help? You mean deeply?
Mm.
What was the platform that you used to get that out?
It was like synergy. It was exercise, yoga. I was a accredited
Okay.
teacher, trainer as well in different things. I did get a master's in nutritional sciences, but it was more of a home
Hmm.
study kind of thing, whether it's accredited or not. I learned a lot of things, but it was based on 1950s, all of that background of whole grain use, eating, all of those things. So everything I learned when I first learned learned about Dr. Berry's and Dr. Berg. He was my teacher for a while and confidant, Dr.
Hmm.
Berg, and he's all into raw foods and meat, of course. But it was different than the carnivore. It's a spectrum, like
Hmm.
Dr. Barry says. It's
Absolutely.
a spectrum. So everybody, maybe some people can have a grain, quinoa, and be
Sure.
fine. I was all into the high protein grains when I was a vegetarian.
Okay.
But was I digesting them? No. So disappointed as I was when I first started it about a year ago, you ask my kids who are now 29, 30, and 30,
Hmm.
what, um how much I preached, whole grains and all that. And so I even a year ago, I was depressed because I taught and I was a counselor and a consultant for many years on
Hmm.
diet. So but everything that I learned, I then had to unlearn, as you I'm sure
Oh
experienced
yes.
too.
Oh yes. So let's so for what 20 some years you were teaching yoga, high grains, protein, but high grains and fiber, and you were in that
Mhm.
camp.
Oh, get a vegetarian diet, because you can put brown rice and beans together and have a whole protein. I don't think that that's really the way it is, but I was told that, and everybody knew that in the vegetarian
Right.
families. So you're okay if you have a whole, complete protein. And I always made sure I tried to do that. And I think I was okay for many, many years until I turned 60,
You were
and
okay
then
until you weren't.
all hell broke loose.
So let's look at that. So been around the Dr. Berry camp and the PhD community, but before that, you said even kind of got in with Dr. Berg and that group. How did that happen? Was there a trigger? Was it just the 60th birthday? Were there things leading up to it? What said, Nina, something's got to change, and I got to start looking because maybe that cathartic moment of maybe what I've been doing for the last couple decades wasn't really the best thing for me. Not
I think it was more like almost 30 years of being 35, being a hardcore. You got to have the best, organic foods, and make sure they're mostly all veg, no meat at all. And it was when I kept having when I got okay, at about 55, they asked me to have a colonoscopy, just because, 55, you're getting there. Nah, didn't, I'm not going there. And then, because I did a lot of those kind of scoping when I was in the
Right.
biz, the medical biz. And it was horrible when you got a scope up your, what. And so, no, I'm fine. And then, you know what fine is? Freaked out, insecure, neurotic, and
Right.
emotional. Okay, so that was kind of me at the end of, after having 3 children. I did really well, with birthing in water, early 90s. I raised them pretty much vegetarian uh, until they were about 5. I'd never fed them any milks. I always used other kinds of things. But you would say the turning point was when I did get a scan inside and it showed diverticulosis.
Hmm.
I had been healthy, 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 healthy. Why in the heck am I getting this? But that was after about a year of going, what's going on down here? What's going on in my gut? Why am I? And then my mom, she had bleeding hemorrhoids. And I didn't think I'd ever have them because I had babies naturally, easy, no problem. But I got her. The genome,
Hmm.
the genes or whatever.
So you had some gut
So I
problems
took
leading
with
up to
that.
it to kind of say, okay, let's go
Mm,
ahead and get the scope done. It's probably nothing
yeah.
because I've been vegetarian for so
I
long.
wasn't bleeding then. No,
Okay.
I didn't have anything going on then. I just said, let's do
Okay.
it, just in
Okay.
case. And it showed that. So that was, the doc said, you've got diverticulosis. Okay, what you need to eat is high fiber foods. I started eating 5 high fiber foods. I thought, oh, great, you know, and I loved all
Hmm.
foods, really. I didn't eat a lot of meat, but it wasn't like I was that way about
Well,
it
yeah, yeah. Were you
because I
that
know,
whole period? Were you that 20 or 30 years? Were you pro veg or were you anti meat? Because there's a difference.
no, I was never
Okay.
anti-meat. No, I mean, I didn't really believe that it caused CA. I think it just kind of as a yogi, I'm lighter when I eat veg. I'm more, this if I eat no processed foods. And I was really good about
Right.
not eating a lot of processed foods. I raised the kids really well that way, and they're all very healthy. None of them have ever seen a doctor. Um, so I did something right, but I was really disappointed in myself for just being lazy and letting it go.
Okay. So you
And
get a diagnosis that you don't care for.
mm,
How did you face that?
I kind of didn't tell anybody. I just kind of kept it to myself, feeling like, I'll fix this. And I couldn't fix it until I went a year ago. I mean, I was trying to fix everything for
So high
5
fiber
years. I
didn't
think
work on it.
5 years. And
Wow.
I was still doing my yoga and things, but
Uh-huh.
then when it got to the point where another epiphany of when was the turning point? Not only was I was kind of not doing well bowel movements, but I was also hurting so bad in my wrists. Because with yoga, you do a lot of,
Right.
push and down dogs and up dogs and then, things like that. And when I couldn't do without pain, my left hip started bugging me. I thought, oh my gosh, this is how I felt when they took bone off my hip to fill in my backbone,
And I've done
to
all these good things for so long. I shouldn't be feeling this way.
exactly, exactly. And
So
that was about 4 years ago when I couldn't even, and I helped a friend move. I picked up a heavy thing and the sciatic started. The sciatica, that pain that
oof.
just shoots down all the way to your toe. So that was going on. Then I think I reestablished myself in 2010. I reestablished myself with the VA and I asked them, I'm going to put a claim in. I've
Hmm.
got some problems, and my mom had just died, and I thought, you know, am I going to die? What's going to happen to me? How when your folks pass on, and you go, what am I going to do now? And
Everything's
so
a
I
different
started feeling
perspective.
kind of weird. Should I, get protected, get insurance? I never really had medical insurance or any of that. Bracken and I have been pretty free spirits, and no public schools for our kids, pretty just not against anything necessarily outwardly, but inwardly knowing that this is how we want to do it. We're not
Right.
going to be, you know, locked into the establishment unless we have to be.
Yeah,
So
and
none of us have
those
insurance,
are
and
viable options out there for the masses. It's just okay, that's just not for me. Might be good for
hmm
you, but just not for
yeah,
me.
right, right. And so with all the
Hmm.
work that I did mentally, and learn psychological ways to help coach people. My daddy was a coach. I think I'm naturally just a teacher coach, but I want them to get the answers. A coach always allows the client or the student to get they ask the question, and that student will have the answer. They might not know it right off the bat, so that's why I like coaching more than just counseling and therapy, and do this, do that for 10 years. You're told to do this or that, and it doesn't really work
But when you
that
can
way.
empower the other person and give them the tools
Right.
to find the answer, because then they own it.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I guess so that hurt, that pain of being intensely back to where I was, still walking and doing things, but I had pain. And so that kind of was the gap, the turning point, which was about 4 years ago. And then I was on a ketogenic diet. I was in ketosis all the time. I've probably been in ketosis for maybe 3 years, but I didn't really go to the full carb BBB and S, until a year ago. And that's when it, like Les Lyon said, that kicking
Hmm.
ass after 70. I saw that interview. Man, that's when it really started. If I stay away from cheeses bother me,
Hmm.
dairy still is a little bit, but it doesn't matter what you eat. It matters what you digest.
Ooh, say
So
that again. The
digesting, it doesn't matter what you eat. Can you digest that which
the
you
people in the
eat?
back didn't hear that the first
See,
time.
yeah, sorry. But in a way, after studying Mindy Pell's, Dr. Mindy Pell's, I'm studying with her
Hmm.
now a great deal on not only Fast Like a Girl, the book
Great book
Fast Like a Girl, really amazing
for
stuff
dudes
in
too.
that.
I've read it.
Wow, I mean, the fasting window has changed everything. If you look at the fasting, intermittent fasting, and just keeping your window of eating smaller, it's taken care of. The study in 2018, I wrote down the study that was in the New England Journal of Health and Nutrition. Um, it 85 studies that showed that the first line of treatment for any big five big diseases, CA, down the
Hmm.
cardiovascular, diabetes, all the top five, is where it is. They've actually deduced it down to fasting should be the first line of treatment, intermittent
Hmm.
fasting. So how do you start that? You just stretch out your breakfast a
Yep.
little longer. You just start by little bitty half hour, just stretch it out. If you've never gone more than 8 hours, you've never gone into fat burning
Yeah,
system.
and
So there's two systems,
yeah,
obviously, sugar and then fat. When are you ever going to get into the fat if you don't let yourself be off what you're feeding the fat with. You know, feeding your fat, you just keep feeding it. I'm a little blunt that way, but it really does come down to,
If your insulin's
you know,
always, sky high, yeah, you're
mm,
you're you're shutting the doors to all your cells. So good luck. It's not going to work.
and then the cellular regeneration
Hmm.
of just a 3-day
Oh yeah.
fast. Even just 24 hours, you kick into the fat burning. In 8 hours, you actually start. If you go past 8, you can still, and burning ketones. But start there, And so my client, I'm going to start a new career. It's going to be totally about fasting. I think that most of what I will tell my clients and people, my family, my friends, is try
Hmm.
this. It doesn't cost anything.
Yeah, it's totally free. And you're not buying junk food. You're actually not eating any food for a little while. And I got to
And
say,
that,
if you,
yeah, that's not as easy as it might sound,
oh,
but yeah.
but I
But
have to say that for me personally, who yo-yo dieted my whole life,
yeah.
um, tried everything, and the chronic cardio,
Mm.
um, everything, diet wise was, I was a mess.
Hmm.
But I got to say, when I went on to not even a carnivore, yeah, I'd say ketogenic, kind of a keto light, kind of a
Hmm.
soft entry. But then as soon as I added some intermittent fasting strategies, it was a linchpin. I was like,
Incredible.
whoa. And then you start to realize how your body's actually, like you said, it's what you digest.
Mm.
Oh, now I can see how, as I'm tracking some things for every now and then, um,
It's coming out of you.
then I get to see, oh, if I eat that, this happens. Well, let's dial that down a little bit. Oh, that's a good result. Oh, that's a bad result. Okay. Now we can right the ship, and it's not overnight, but you have better data in which to do that, because your body gets a rest and you get to figure out how does your body truly respond versus how does it just I tell our kids all the time, psychologically here, behaviorally, is always respond, don't react. Don't react. You need to respond appropriately.
Right.
Fasting, in my opinion, is that chance to allow your body to respond versus just react to the latest thing that just hits your gut. You
Right.
get to respond to it, and then you can make adjustments a lot more
That's a
calculated.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. I was gonna mention a bullet point about our body. The reason why it takes so much time, it's sort of like sometimes it takes time. Some things don't. I mean, immediately I started feeling amazing when I
Hmm.
took veg out, but then I mourned it. A little bit because
I miss you,
my
carrots.
salads, my this. And but we're like a sponge, like a super dry sponge. It takes a while for it to, you just put one drop on, no big deal. It's not going to really do much.
Hmm.
Another drop, another drop. Eventually, it just becomes the most beautiful, moist, thing. And it takes sometimes a year, or more to get. I mean, my skin to you might look okay, but I'm here and I still have, some ways to go before it really looks like it's getting enough nutrients, enough
Hmm.
of what the skin needs. I'm still asking
Sure.
questions.
But how does that compare to 30 years ago?
Yeah, really.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
all in relation to what?
exactly. When I was 32, okay, so when Bracken and I met in 1989, again, my life changed because I never thought I'd meet somebody that was all into, eat Sedona and, a lot of craziness. I was in Redondo Beach, just hanging out at the beach, going to China. I actually went to China. I was going to help build a healing center in Beijing. And I was all set to do it, go back for the second time to China and do some things because I was learning Chinese medicine. I was going to be a doctor of Chinese medicine.
Hmm.
Didn't turn out. I learned a lot. I went almost to the level of master's, degree. But, in a way, I'm going to ask you, how did you get your PhD coaching certificate? I'd like to eventually do that so I can say, yeah, I know enough. Well, I'm only a year in. I'm 35, maybe more years, almost 40 into nutrition, you
Hmm.
know, science of nutrition. But what does that say?
It's like anything else in life. When do you ever know enough?
Yeah,
What is enough? Enough is going to be, can I make an impact either in myself or someone else? Can I make a lasting impact and a real impact? Then when I face something that, I was dealing with someone the other day, it's like, that's a little outside of my knowledge base. So in that situation, I didn't know enough, so I've got to go learn about it and come back. And then guess what?
right.
Then that experience makes it better for everybody that I come in contact with.
Hmm.
So we're always learning. I've
Yeah,
always heard, when you stop learning, you start dying, because then there's no
yeah.
mental challenge, there's no spiritual challenge, there's no physical challenge to it. And then it's like, okay, well, I'm just going to coast through life the rest of my, no, I can't do that. And
No.
so for me, it was, I just got sick and tired. I pinched way more than an inch, and I just said something's got to give. And
Mhm.
we're all locked down at that point for, it had only been maybe 6 months. I'm like, I'm sitting at home,
Yeah.
working from home, getting fatter and fatter. My kids are growing up, and I don't want them to be like dad. Um, and so I've tried this, I've tried this, I've tried this. And so call it Providence. Um, I've heard this from so many people. I was just scrolling along YouTube, minding my own business, and some people came in. There was, Berg, Bickman,
Mm,
Barry. They just
right.
happened to come across my feed, and I said, "Whoa, that's unusual, but there's something about
Mm,
that." And so I started doing a little
yeah.
bit of research. And then I started January 14th, crazy day to start anything, but
Hmm.
not New Year's Eve, not New Year's Day, the 14th in I think it was 21. I was like, okay, let's just start this keto thing. And I will say this, I use the term a lot, tabloid keto. I was not doing
Right.
tabloid keto. I was doing a ketogenic way of eating. And it started off
Right.
kind of dirty keto, but
Mm.
my let's see, my trigs were 488, and within 3 months they dropped more than in half. They were like, under 230. And
So
my
good.
wife, Julie, she's a nurse, and
Mm.
she was legitimately worried about me stroking out. My blood pressure was so high. I was on a couple different
Right.
medications, and it started to control it, and then until it didn't. And it's like, well, we could up the
Wow.
dose. Like, no, 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 no. And again, the trigs dropped, and then the blood pressure started to come down. I didn't realize I was still taking medication,
Uh-huh.
and I was trying to, I guess I got to exercise some, and I would do that maybe once a week. And it happened on two occasions. The first one, I thought, well, this is a fluke. The second was like, wife, help me, because my pressure bottomed out. I'm
Yeah.
like,
Job.
this is not
Right.
good. And so, and long story short, they went from a daily dose to every other day to half a dose every other day to don't bother sending in a new script. I'm not going to fill it.
Nice.
And that was all within about, I'd say, total 6 months, within a year. Um, and I had lost over 70 pounds, and was feeling great. The brain fog instantly. That's one of those instant things. Within just a couple
Right.
weeks, I'm like, I got so much clarity of thought. Now my brain is racing. I can't get thoughts out fast enough. I can't write a thought out fast enough,
Right.
which is cool, but
Like taking
frustrating.
a speed pill or something.
And I could say I wouldn't know. Um, but then that got me to thinking, wow, this has worked so well for me. There's other people like me out there. I didn't have, and I said this in my bio. I didn't have a grocery list of conditions to overcome. I didn't have any, like,
Mm,
rock bottom, I'm about to die kind of moment. It was just
mhm.
sick and tired, sick
Right.
and tired. I think of myself like the middle child. I'm
Yeah.
like,
That's
I'm
so
just kind of
right. Sick
here,
and tired of being sick and tired.
and there's got to be other people out there like me. And the first place I started was right at home. And my wife was a
Mhm.
nurse, and she's like, I don't know about that. But then it's fast forward, and I had a former pastor of mine. He said, you can't argue with a changed life. So she started to say, hmm, okay, let's try. And she was a bariatric patient. I guess technically still
Wow.
is. Um, she had a gastric sleeve in 19
Mhm.
and done very well with that
Oh,
because she's a nurse and she knows you got to
she knows
follow the
what to do.
protocol.
Mhm.
Um, my goodness, we tried to help someone who didn't listen to us on the nutrition side, but okay, well, let's give you some tips since you're going to do the surgery anyway.
Yeah.
Did not listen. This other lady was having, sub sandwiches and sodas within like 2 weeks post-op. It's like,
Ow.
you're gonna undo everything that was done and you're going to be worse off. And guess what?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, she was.
Right.
So, the home, we started to do that, and she's using it and has used it ever since for like a maintenance very successfully.
Good.
Everything, we were talking with Bronson Dant the other day about, everyone's nutritional needs is as unique as your fingerprint. There's a lot of commonalities,
Mhm.
but you know what? This is for me. And
Right.
so her proper human diet is vastly different than mine. There's
Right.
commonalities,
Yeah.
but yeah, dialing some of that stuff in, it just takes a little bit of time. But then I
Mhm.
started to realize personally, it's like I need to know more because people are asking me questions. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know.
Right.
I can just tell you what I did. So I got involved with um, Dr. Berry's community,
Mm.
um, and just got active in it as just
Mm.
as a member.
Right.
And then they some of the other coaches and mentors were, and there was only a handful at that time, and they were like, he's answering questions. He's asking good questions. He's getting
Mhm.
he's helping answer other people's questions. They said, why don't you come on as an advisor? I said,
Mhm.
sure. And then I went ahead and got uh, the Primal Health Coach Institute. I went and got
Okay.
their
Yeah.
their expert certification,
Nice.
um, which is if you're going to go into health coaching, that's kind of the gold
That's
standard
right.
for that.
Mhm.
And God, learned so much with that. But even before that, I had already gone through. There's an outfit that they do more in the life coaching space, but
Mhm.
the Transformation Academy,
Right.
they've got some programs that I had, run through their certification programs, and another one. The name is a little, whatever, but it's the Fabulous Body,
Mhm.
and based out of California. And this guy's he's vast. He's so well read, and the breadth and depth that he goes into is really good.
Mhm.
He's a little bit plant heavy because he is Indian, so that's a cultural
Mhm.
thing.
Right. And
But
it works for them.
yeah,
It
but he
does really
absolutely
good.
understands, about a complete protein profile, about all the things. So I got a certificate, a couple certificates from them in ketogenic dietary advisory, and fitness.
Wow.
So then I added the primal health coach on top of that. So I try to stay, just like we talked earlier. I want to hit as many different things and
Mhm.
as deep as I can go and raise a rising tide raises all ships.
Yes.
And so that's kind of my journey in a nutshell. But so that's
Mhm.
that's what I did, and I'm always learning because I'm always coming across something that I don't know or I need to know more
Mhm.
about because it's going to make an impact on somebody else.
Yeah.
And maybe that one little thing that I just learned about, maybe they won't hear anything else I say, but oh, you know, it's about that little thing. Okay, that'll open the door to let's talk about some other stuff over
Right.
time.
Exactly. All you need is a pearl, you can read a whole book and one thing, and that's good enough.
Hmm.
And
See, I don't need to get my foot in the door. I just need a pinky toe.
mhm. Yeah.
So,
Um,
so where on that spectrum do you fall? Are you said you're pretty much carnivore? Because I know people get so dogmatic
oh, I
lately.
know.
It's a stinking
Yeah,
spectrum, people. It's
yeah.
you're gonna find your sweet
I
spot in there
I
somewhere.
so understand that now. I think I saw Dr. Barry live on one that he was just by himself, but he was no, he wasn't. He was with actually the gal that was the army gal that is a coach on
Mitzi,
the community. It was a
Mitzi
interview
Champion,
with her. What's her name?
Mitzi
Anyway,
Champion.
she just did it the other day, about a week ago. She did with Barry, and he was really laid back, and he just said, he says, I'm eating different things than I did when I thought I was on the spectrum really narrow.
Hmm.
Cheese, no. Uh, this, no. Just just steak and salt and water. Is kind of where he was for a while, and then now he can kind of play around. That's where I am.
Sure.
I'm to the point where I'm adding things in, and equals one. You know, I added in cauliflower and cheese casserole. My sister made uh, macaroni and cheese, kind of a without the pasta,
Right.
so that was beautiful. It was so good. But I had, I did have a little bit of aching, so I'm not there yet. I really want to solve this and get this healed.
Hmm.
Obviously, when you have something, you want to get it healed. It may take some time down here, in that transverse colon area where most problems arise when you've been a nut
Hmm.
eater. You're not digesting your veg and fiber. Of course, you're never going to digest fiber. So, what fiber is it? Is it the real slippery stuff that fruit gives
Hmm.
you? So, that's not as problematic. Is it those, what are they called? Those
Hmm.
lectins that are in certain foods that then start attaching and problems. I didn't know about lectins until I watched Dr. Gundry on a silly, video
Hmm.
commercial that comes up before a video you want to watch. And Gundry started talking about lectins, and this was maybe three years ago or so. I didn't know a thing about lectins. Why didn't I learn about lectins
Right.
in school? Why didn't I learn about the anti-nutrients that and the cancerous kinds of things that Brussels sprouts have? I love buttery Brussels sprouts, and I eat them a lot. So
Yeah.
so there's was I helping myself? No, but I didn't know any
Yeah.
better.
So you got to forgive
I,
yourself and move
I
on.
thought I knew better,
Yeah, that's one thing that
but
some people have a challenge with is forgiving themselves and just okay, I learned something new. Today's a new day. I'm going to move forward.
I know.
And
I know. I kind of went into a depression about a year ago when I found out all this stuff that I was teaching others,
yeah, and it's one
yoga
thing
classes saying,
if
green drinks.
if you did it to yourself, that's one thing. But, oh my gosh, I've been telling this to
Yeah.
other people.
Uh,
Why do you think Dr. Barry in particular is so adamant about making the information as available as possible? Because
I
for so
know.
long he was just standard allopathic doctor,
Yeah.
same old, same old.
I love him so much because talk about somebody who did fess up and say, what the heck, no more of this ridiculousness. And he's now getting to where meat is going higher and
Hmm.
higher. There's enough carnivores out there, are now starting to raise the price of beef, but you still can get, good
Oh
deals.
yeah.
But I see the trend. The trend is going. I don't think it's ever going to stop going the direction of support the farmers, so the farmers that do the
Right.
cattle. Some of the veg is great,
To
and
feed the
and and
cattle.
I hope to God I can eat vegetables again. I don't need them.
Yeah, and there's going to be some
See,
things.
that's a thing. Needing
There's some
the
things
needing.
that be like, okay, I gave that up for a little while to as an elimination.
Mm,
All right, now we got a clean
right.
slate. Let's try this. Oh, nope. Let's try this.
Yeah,
Okay, I can tolerate that a
that's kind
little
of where
bit.
I'm at.
I can tolerate that one a little bit.
Right.
That one's another. Nope. Bye.
Yeah.
Um, and you
So
find
right.
that out,
So
and
right.
it just. And Nisha did a talk at the PhD summit about 2 years ago on N equals
Mhm.
one and how to reintroduce. It was stellar, and we.
I'm gonna have to go back and listen to that, but I do know that it's important to just have a little. You don't want to have a big ass, a big, huge amount of macaroni and cheese made out from cauliflower and yummy cheeses and expect you're not going to have some kind of something going on if you don't have the microbiome. I'm still wondering if I might need some enzymes, um, at times when I do eat a fibrous type of veg. I'm not really craving any. I'm craving mostly meat now, different kinds of
Mhm.
meats. I really don't love sardines, but I'll eat them.
I don't love them, and I
I
honestly don't eat
stick,
them.
yeah. I mean, it's tough to eat. Now, Dr. Berry says that cod liver in the can, like you get sardines, tastes better than sardines. They're not as fishy. So I'm going to try some of the cod liver.
Let
I haven't actually
let
tried
me know how
cod
that
liver.
goes, 'cause
Okay, I
I'm just not that
will.
brave. I've had so
Right.
many false starts with liver, chicken liver, beef liver.
Mhm.
I I
Me
can
too.
do I forget the name of it, but my mother-in-law introduced us to a company that makes a really high quality, liver pate. I can eat that, and then on a more practical level, I can do liverwurst. And
Yeah.
Nisha said, I said, Does liverwurst, does that check the box for my liver requirement? She said, absolutely. I said, I'm in.
Good.
I'll just call it my
Good.
fancy bologna.
There you go. I was raised on bologna. My dad, he loved sardines, canned meats. He was a divorcee. We did get to go back and see Daddy every once in a while and stuff. But he'd always have crackers and sardines or canned meat of some kind. I come from a gene ancestry, I guess, of alcoholism,
Mhm.
suicide. I got all of that. I was never suicidal, but I asked, why am I here? There's no, what, I know all these things, even up till maybe I was 55, I'd have deep depressions. I'd go into the bedroom and Bracken and the kids, would say, what's wrong with mom? I'm so happy most of the time, but then boom, something would take me down. I don't know if you call it the evil spirits, or whatever, but I couldn't get out of it
Well,
until I got out
I
of
will
it.
say there's an enemy that
I
knows
didn't
all
take
your hot
meds.
buttons.
Yeah, I never took meds for it or anything, but I could have been clinically diagnosed. As much depression as I did have off and
So let me
on.
ask you this.
My life has been blessed beyond belief. I've had a lot of
Did
pain, but then I've had joy beyond joy. Why am I depressed? I'd ask myself, why? Bracken said, why are you depressed? I don't know. It was food related.
ha,
I had to,
so since you went to a more meat heavy, near carnivore diet, have those symptoms, have those bouts of depression, have they gotten better?
yes, yes. In fact, I don't think, I mean, I'm not saying that I don't get into the doldrums, occasionally you'll see something and you'll go,
Oh,
oh
we
my
all do.
gosh, why is this going on? Why are these people, why are these things going on? That could get to
Hmm.
me if I let it. But I'm a real strong advocate of what you say, you become. What you keep saying, you will do or become that. And, people might think I'm crazy about that, but it is so
Hmm.
related.
100%.
What you say, what you do, your word is law. As far as I'm concerned, your word is law. Watch out what you say about yourself and others and about anything,
Hmm.
really.
Because, which route do you
And
want to go? Do you want to say, oh, the Proverbs route, the power of life and death is in the tongue? You want to go the psychological route of the amount of electricity to generate the thought. Then you got to process it. Then you got to put it over your vocal cords, enough wind to come out. And then you have to hear it again, and you're processing it all. You've heard the same thought. You've processed that thought 5 or 6 times, and then you release it. Then how many times do you repeat that in your inner monologue, in your outer
right,
monologue? You know,
it
it's
is.
vital, and people
It
people
is.
tend to dismiss that, and I wish they wouldn't.
Mhm. Right. You say something like, well, marriage is going to be hard,
Then guess what?
or, just wait till the honeymoon's over. Well, no, I don't accept, I'm not accepting that. You don't have to accept the status quo. Dr. Barry's not, and he's
You're a
like
diabetic, and you're
up
always
there
going to
in
be a
the AMA,
diabetic.
dealing with the people up there. I know a nurse practitioner that had to get the heck out of Florida because he was healing people. He was giving people enough supplements or telling them about their diet. And he got blackballed in Florida. He had to leave because they were all over him. And he came here to, I live in a little tiny little town called Cottonwood right now. We go back and forth to the ocean in Mexico. Arizona has a beach called Puerto Penasco or Rocky Point. So it's our beach. You do have to drive through Mexico a little bit to get there, but it's right
Hmm.
below us, the Sea of Cortez, the,
Okay.
the top of the sea. So I go to the sea a lot. I spend a lot of time at the ocean. Um, I can telepathically talk with dolphins and things like that. That's kind of out there stuff. But because of my practice, my breathing practice, my at this point, I can pretty much. I try not to read minds, but it's you can
Hmm.
if you don't try. It's a lot of times you can try when you're a counselor or a coach. You kind of see what's
Yeah,
going on,
all
but
the
then
things that you pick up
when
verbally,
I've
non-verbally,
opened up,
just
hmm
like you say, and energy. It's tuning into that frequency. Um,
yeah,
yeah. Wow.
and there's a lot going on the non-physical that people don't really take in consideration because there's a lot against us already.
We could
You
talk
know,
for hours on that.
like I said, I come from and killed himself. I wasn't alive. My mom was 5. So it's way back. But if somebody's going to do that, that's pretty hardcore. Drink Drano to
Hmm.
kill yourself. He must have been a really, depressed person. And who knows? I could have gone that way, but I was lucky and I had some support and
And you made the choice.
I love this community, because right off the bat, don't say anything that's gonna, help somebody get more depressed. I mean, all the communities out there, most of them, social media is all about,
Uh,
you know, griping about this or complaining
You're either
about
building
that. And
up or
yes,
you're
well,
tearing
there are
down.
people complaining, right? And so, but that I do have a note here about how I have experienced healing in so many ways. I mean, I started with pain in I couldn't even bend my wrist to do a down dog, or I was just insanely in pain. And then keto helped, but until I went to my little narrow spectrum right now. I don't plan to be there forever, but if I am, so what? I get steak,
Oh, darn.
I get fish,
Hmm.
good fish. I get, I'm not starving. And you can eat out of a can and be okay. Like Dr. Berry says, eat canned meats if you can't
Hot dogs
afford.
and mustard.
Uh, yeah, I know. And I was eating all kinds of Braunschweiger,
Hmm.
liverwurst, in the beginning. I can't stomach it now. So my B12 must be really high, because you have to have red meats to get red
Hmm.
blood. Really good. Well, your blood's blue, but to get really good, strong iron
Right.
in your blood. Otherwise, you're not gonna feel good. And iodine goes with that
Hmm.
too. So I do still some of the things that I still am working on. My skin is still kind of thin in places. I'd like a little more plumpness. I'd like to find out, if I am doing something that I need to do something different, I'd like to find out that. Um, I'm not one to go get a test because the last test I got at the VA, I had a physical the other day, and my cholesterol is a little high, according to the reference ranges and things, but my triglycerides were fine. I mean, I was looking at all my blood work, and I watched Dr. Berry and Nisha about their
Oh,
blood
yeah.
work. Did you see that one? Yeah, that was insane. They got a $2,000 hit there each, but it was worth
To
it to find
say,
out and
hey,
have
this is working.
a baseline.
Well,
So another year will go by. He wanted to see me in 6 months, just in case. And they called me and said, "Do you need a nutritionist?" The other day, and would you like to talk to
no.
a nutritionist? I said, "No, thanks. You
Got
know,
one.
I kind of know what I'm doing, but I didn't act like all uppity. It was just, no, thanks. Thanks for asking. But the VA's getting better. Let's just say that. The VA
Hmm.
now, I did go through 2 rounds of physical therapy last couple of years. Um, really great I had some acupuncture. That didn't really do a lot. I had chiropractic. That didn't really do a lot until I got some true core types of stability exercises where I
Hmm.
wasn't really doing that. I thought I was. And then my back stopped hurting again, and
There you
then
go.
I had stenosis like Les, kicking ass after 70. He had stenosis. They showed a pretty bad stenosis at one point when I got all those tests done about 5 years ago, maybe. Yeah, my so I've been dealing a little bit with that.
Hmm.
The My most thing that I want to get completely and utterly strengthened and healed is my gut bacteria, to be great with
Hmm.
anything I eat. Is that possible? Maybe. But when I did finally collapse, I was depressed, very riddled with candida. I had
Hmm.
candidiasis, systemic candida, which is you could die,
Right.
if you're not going to get it better. And so I had to kind of go on a sabbatical when the kids were, I don't know, 5, 3, and 1 was my hardest time, I think. And that's when the depression kind of really set in. So I've been fighting it for years. And fast forward now to 2024.
Sounds like you're in a pretty darn good
I
place.
am. I'm really doing good compared to like all these people at the celebration for life today. And they had the reception at the end and all the food that they served. They did have a little station where it was all keto, it was just meats and salad. But then
Hmm.
there was way more sweets all along the whole wall of sweets and yumminess, and then another wall of some more yumminess, as far as what people like to eat and stuff.
Well, and it's they call it comfort food for a
Yeah.
reason because they learn when they're a toddler. Oh, have some Cheerios, have a piece of
Oh,
cereal to to shut you up, and just, okay, this is going to soothe. This is going to soothe. So then here we are later in life, and like, oh, I'm having an emotional, event here. I need something to soothe me. Let me
Hmm.
reach for some sugar.
Yes. And what I want to maybe end up with is two things. My youngest daughter did a 65-day, her and her husband both, BBB&E, basically.
How'd that go?
And she was a Dr. Pepper lover. He was all about sugar, and they go their most favorite thing was to go to the movies and just chow down on popcorn and candy, stuff like that. And I stopped doing that several years ago, but not like I don't like popcorn. I love popcorn, but it doesn't like me right now,
Right.
right now. And so when I got completely off of carb and veg, I stopped the depression. It really, I've not gone into any deep depression. And people are going, the ones that did know that I did go deep into the depression
Hmm.
sometimes, are saying, how you doing? Well,
I'm
I'm
doing
well.
great.
I haven't had that. I don't know what I'm going to do, kind of
So you
attitude.
remove the sugars and the carbs, and then you start to mentally heal. 1 + 1 is
Uh-huh.
2.
So good.
1 + 1
And
is 2.
then my cat, okay, I have two grandkitties. My daughter lives with us right now. So and she's a total carnivore now. I mean, she couldn't even stand to eat meat,
Hmm.
hardly at all. And now she's about 2 months in. So she's my second daughter, who was born under the pyramid in Sedona. Talk about a wow experience with with 3 births. But so people that know us, we're really out there. We've traveled the world. We take this and that. We swim with dolphins and whales, and talk to them too. And live on the ocean and do body work, and just kind of like way out there kind of stuff. But Bracken's really into computers and does incredible, techno. He's a geek, kind of guy. But the kitties, okay, so my Lily and Rosie and Morgana. Morgana's a dog, my daughter's dog, and then her 2 cats. So they're our grand fur
Hmm.
girls, all girls. Call them fur girls. They're all carnivore now. They were eating kibble. None of them felt
Hmm.
good. You could tell. I, Lily started eating her flesh. I mean,
Oh
she'd
no.
scratch enough. And Star was feeding them the best that she could find, expensive dog food, but it had
Hmm.
legumes in it. It had, different things in it that dogs and cats don't need.
Right.
There, Lily's fur is in less than a month. Well, maybe no, it's been about 4 weeks, and it was hard at first to take them off of kibble, but then and now they're just begging every time it gets to time to eat. They love what they eat. They've never acted like this before, and they've
Hmm.
healed all the horrible sores and things that she was getting. And
Oh wow.
so it works with me, my Bracken, and now my daughters who are trying it, and my son-in-law. And then he's gained. He couldn't even get past 125. He's just a thin
Hmm.
kind of Asian guy, and he started eating more meat. He didn't take really anything else away. Just added more animal fat, animal meats. He's now
And his body
140.
says, "Thank you."
Taekwondo, yeah, taekwondo and running, and he was never overweight. My problem is keeping enough
Hmm.
weight. So I I know that I'm going to have to change something, because if you don't change, how is anything going to change? So I might have to add something to then get, I'm kind of muscly, but I'm really, not that muscle. I'd like to be able to press like I used to,
Step
and
by step by
dead
step.
squats like
Hmm.
I used to, even with a broken back. I did that kind of work until when I was 55, I hurt myself again, you know. So it's been about in and out of about 7 years of kind of suffering off and on, not
But
knowing
now
what to
you've
do.
you've got a path now. You know where you're going. How cool is that?
Yeah, that is amazing, Neil.
Because
Thank you so
I'm
much
so
for
glad that you
having.
were able to do this. This is going to help some folks because, you know,
I
there's
hope
other
so.
there's other people maybe they didn't have a car wreck or this thing, but there's other people like Nina Joy out there that your story is going to
Mhm.
help. Maybe there's people that
I hope so.
maybe got into a little bit of yoga and got out of it and maybe they'll return to that
Mhm.
as some
Mhm.
low intensity, kind of movement exercise. Maybe there's
Mhm.
going to be someone who has pets that, hey, I'll give them some real food. But there's so much to unpack in your story that people are going to get something out of it. And I'm just so thrilled that you were
I
able
hope
to
so.
do this with us. You got such a
I hope
wide
so.
background and you are a joy to talk to. So are
Thank
you on any
you.
other social media? Are you doing anything there?
Well, Bracken, because he's so geek-like, we've got about 10 Facebook pages.
Hmm.
I'm known as Nina Joy, and I'm in a rainbow. Two two things I'm really passionate about is Tai Chi Gong and tie dye.
Hmm.
So you're gonna find me a lot with tie dye, on or some with dolphins or whatever. And I do write.
Okay.
I do continue to journal and write. I wrote about 15 books, small, really short ones that I turned into guided meditations. I did write a book called Fearless Birth and Beyond Conscious. And it was really 6 years of journaling, and it's a book I created from my birth experiences of
Hmm.
almost going to Russia to birth with dolphins at the Black Sea. Just crazy, way out there stuff. People don't normally do that kind of thing. They want to get a doctor as soon as they're pregnant. Well, I didn't even see a doctor when I was pregnant with all three girls. So just midwives and helpers. Bracken was there with all the births. So I'm kind of an expert at helping women get ready for birth. Um, Tie dye expert,
Yeah.
swimming around the world with dolphins and humpback whales, and I've had some just incredible experiences. I'm very strong spiritually.
Hmm.
I think I've grown more since 2014 than I have in all the other years spiritually.
Wow.
Um,
Well, let's do this.
but oh, we didn't talk about Tai Chi Gung.
Oh.
So Tai Chi Gung, just a little bit, is three yogas in one. It has caused me to truly understand that certain ways of moving your body, you're all about movement and joint movement and things like that. Otherwise, you're just going to, heck, I'm 66. Am I going to be all yucky when I'm 70? No, no, I'm going to keep
Right.
moving even though. So Tai Chi Gong is basically walking 10 minutes a day, doing about four or more standing exercises and then a true breathing type of exercise, which then strengthens you in every way because we need more oxygen.
Hmm.
All of us, we're not getting enough oxygen, so we need to deep breathe and learn how to really breathe much
And quit breathing
better. And
recycled air. That'll help.
oh yeah, try to get some fresh. Go out and get some fresh air. I make myself.
And you'll get sunlight at the same time. Well, tell me the bad news.
Yeah. So,
Wow.
but it's been great. I'm so glad I met you
Yes.
and that you're very inspiring
I'm just a
and
dude.
this whole community.
Well, let's do this.
And so,
We're gonna wrap up now. Again, thank you so much. Don't hang up yet, just because I want to
okay,
get some of that information so I can share it in the notes of this. But Nina
okay.
Joy, it's been
Sounds good.
wonderful. Guys, look her up on social media, Facebook, and in the PhD community. And thank you
Yes.
so much. And we will talk soon.